Who are you and why are you with us here today?
So nice to meet you. My name's Adam. I'm a dentist. So I'm from Manchester. I graduated from the University of Glasgow 2 years ago, and I work in Wales, Wrexham. A lovely place. Definitely recommend visiting the place. Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you today about Islam and oral health and how we have a really rich history of looking after the human body. And I'll talk you through the 1,400 years of Islamic history and how we can incorporate that into 21st century practices, really.
Can you explain the importance of oral hygiene in Islam?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So oral hygiene is highly valued in Islam. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that cleanliness is half of faith, and that extends to looking after your teeth. So in the Quran, teeth are only mentioned once. So it's not related to dentistry, but an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Forgiveness and reconciliation is better, instead of this argy-bargy stuff. But there's 20 hadiths that relate to oral hygiene, particularly brushing. So the Prophet Muhammad encouraged people to brush their teeth before they pray, before entering a house, after a long journey or after a long nap as well, and also on Jummah as well. So they're really different things that you can do to brush it when brushing your teeth. As well as that, there's also hadith on looking after the mouth, not just physically but spiritually as well. So controlling the tongue, because that can make or break someone's heart, emotionally. You've got the concept of a bad breath as well. So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, "Don't enter a mosque having garlic breath." So that's another aspect of oral hygiene that we can look at.
How did Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasize the practice of maintaining oral health?
Mm-hmm. So the Prophet Muhammad used to brush his teeth with a Miswak. So Miswak is a toothbrush made from the root of a tree called the arak tree. So it's native in Arabia, areas in Africa and South Asia, like Sri Lanka. So he recommended the use of that. He didn't just talk the talk, he walked the walk. So he practiced what he preached. So like I've mentioned before on Jummah, before entering a house, before his daily prayers, and also it can also be used during Ramadan if you've got bad breath. As well as that,
so it doesn't break your fast.
It doesn't break your fast. No, it doesn't break your fast at all. Which is really good, because I have bad breath as a dentist in Ramadan, and it's terrible. So I often have to freshen my breath up with something, otherwise the patients within 30 seconds see I stink. So alhamdulillah for that. Yeah. The Miswak itself has many benefits. So it's antimicrobial, it gets rid of the plaque in your mouth. So plaque is basically bacteria. There's over 700 species inside the mouth, some are good, some are bad. It also helps freshen the breath, so it's multifunctional, and unlike 21st century toothbrushes, it's also biodegradable, which is very important. Other than that, the World Health Organization encourages the use of the Miswak in poorer countries, and I think it's amazing. 21st century evidence says that follow the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which is amazing. That's a non-Muslim organisation as well. Yeah.
So what are some hadiths that highlight the significance of dental care?
So the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said his most famous one about brushing is, had I wanted to overburden the Muslim community, I would have told them to brush 5 before their 5 daily prayers, which shows the significance that he placed on himself, on brushing. And also an important note is that when the Prophet Muhammad was passing away in Aisha's chamber, he actually had a Miswak in his hand, which signifies the importance of having a fresh breath before your final breath, basically. So that's the most famous one. I used it 5 times a day, used it during Ramadan as well.
So tell us more about the Miswak and oral hygiene around the time of the Prophet. What else do you know about it?
So let's have a look at and compare diets from the 21st century compared to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. So at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, his food was more coarse, and you can see that in teeth on that area, they're more worn down than what we have today. As well as that, sugar was different. So sugar was organic and found in fruit, so grapes, pomegranates, you had dates, date syrups, these kinds of things. So now it's very different. So sugar now is found in cakes, yogurts, and the refined sugar. So you get the sugar, it's ground down, and it's just sort of, it's like, you can do it's white sugar basically. So that is more likely to rot your teeth than the sugars that he ate back in the day. And that means that we have to alter something in our brushing regime. So that's why we've got the new 21st century toothpastes. So these toothpastes been around for about 150 years, initially made in America, and they contain fluoride. So fluoride is a naturally occurring element, and it kills the bacteria. Now, an interesting thing, Miswaks also contain fluoride. Zamzam water also contains fluoride, but they are in really, really small quantities. So 21st century toothpaste, they've got huge concentrations of these to really help protect against sugar, because sugar rots teeth. That's what I want to make everyone aware of, that it's sugar that rots teeth. An interesting anecdote actually is you go to a dental conference, you see all these amazing dental equipments, dental chairs. There's not a single stall that talks about sugar, and sugar is essentially the cause of tooth decay, the main thing to begin with. So another thing I want to mention is that it's even though we're living in the 21st century, we've got different diets, it's 100% okay to keep using a Miswak. Use it in Ramadan, you can supplement it with a normal toothbrush, not a problem.
That's pretty cool. So with the foods that they used to have during the Prophet's time, was it did it have any effect on their teeth at all, the sugars at all, or so as in if we were to now, if someone was to cut out any kind of refined sugar and the only sugar they consume is all natural sugars, would they be able to avoid teeth decaying by doing that?
Unlikely, because we know that a couple of centuries later, so you've got Ibn Sina, who was born in the 10th century, tooth decay was well known. So they tried to tackle tooth decay by putting hot oil on a tooth that has some decay on it. So tooth decay was prevalent at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, but unfortunately I don't know.
Okay, but would it be now it's a lot worse?
It's now a lot more, the frequency is higher in the population. Yeah. Cool. So if you look at today's, if you look at the statistics, 75% of adults have had at least one tooth taken out in England. Yeah.
Right, so are there any famous Muslim dentists that you're aware of?
Absolutely. So if you look at politics, the Labour leader in Scotland, Anna Sauer, he studied dentistry at the same university, Glasgow University. You've got Rafidun Ahmed, who was a minister in West Bengal in India during the time of the British Empire. He was a famous dentist as well. You've got Abu Bakr Razi, who's a 10th century scholar. In the 10th century and all these Islamic golden ages, they were like polymaths, so there was no such thing as a dentist, but they had interest in medicine, dentistry, languages, engineering, and they all had interests in that field. So like I mentioned earlier, they used to tackle tooth decay by putting hot oil on the tooth to try and stop it progressing. Essentially cauterization, that's what it is. It's like using something hot. We won't do that in today's day and age because it actually kills the nerve of the tooth, and that can lead to an extraction, taking out a tooth. It shows things have changed. If you look at now, about 10 to 15% of dentist training in England are Muslim, and that's anecdotal as well. A lot of the trainers as well in dentistry are Muslims, Muslim men. Alhamdulillah.
So talking about tooth decay, what are the causes of it?
Yeah, so number one is sugar, and that's just a fact. So the mugs in your mouth, you've got over 700 species, some are good, some are bad. They like the sugar, they eat the sugar, they pour out acid, and that's what rots the teeth. So I'll give you some statistics. So over 70% of adults have had a tooth taken out. The most common reason for children going into hospital is tooth decay, and that's costing the NHS £33 million a year. Children miss an average in their life 3 days of school because of toothache problems, and I've had plenty of kids coming with problems. And although these are stats for Britain, you've got to remember that Muslims make up a proportion of the British population. So you're looking at around 7% of Britain are Muslims. And like, for example, let's take smoking. So smoking affects the mouth, increases risk of oral cancer, increases dry mouth. 11% of Muslims smoke. Yeah. Yeah. So that's some statistics. So I really want everyone to imagine teeth as a body part, which is what they are. Allah has given you this body part, look after it.
So what are the common misconceptions about oral health that the Muslim community have?
So there might be misconceptions about brushing during fasting. Some people might think it's not allowed, but in fact you are. There's hadith that refer that to Prophet Muhammad brushing with the Miswak. Disbury Mosque, one of our local mosques, they've said that you can actually brush your teeth with normal toothpaste as well. As long as you don't swallow it, it's fine. Other things, mouth cancer isn't really talked about. So mouth cancer, about 8,000 people are diagnosed in the UK with mouth cancer. If you look at the population, 7% of the population is Muslim, so 7% of 8,000 is quite a lot. Some of those will be Muslim. So cancer is maybe a taboo subject as well. Smoking in the Muslim community is a bit taboo, shisha in particular. So there's some of the misconceptions.
So how does fasting during Ramadan affect oral health, and what tips can you give to maintain it?
So Ramadan means, like, the root word is thirst, the month of thirst, and dryness of the mouth. So fasting causes a dry mouth, dehydration. So really recommend during the eating and drinking times to have plenty of water. Avoid salty foods as well. Brush that time as well, so before suhoor you can brush your teeth or even afterwards. Yeah, just keep it nice and fresh. When you breathe, try and breathe through your nose, not through your mouth. If you breathe through your mouth, you're increasing the rate of evaporation, essentially, just water leaving your mouth. They recommend that if worst case scenario, you're lost in the desert, breathe through your nose. You maintain your water more.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Was there any more? Or?
That's it, I think. Yeah.
So can you provide advice on maintaining oral hygiene during Ramadan when brushing during the day is avoided by some?
So brush at night time, essentially, that's it. Avoid sugars, because when you have sugars, I'll try it at home, have sugar and see what happens in the next 30 minutes. Your mouth will feel tingly. You'll feel like a bit of acidity building up. That's the bacteria working, eating the sugars and pulling out that acid. That's the bacteria. So you want to avoid that, so just cut out your sugars as well.